Let's get that stream underway. How about it? How about it? How about it? How about it? We're gonna watch out for our good friend the Couchbot. See if Couchbot gives us some shine, ladies and gentlemen. Looks like yes. So Kara's checking in. Seen Kara this morning. Seen Katie checking in. Tedgel, Rebecca. It's a busy morning here in the feedback loop. I like it. This is what I got into this for. Seeing little traction here. It's nice to have you all back. It's Tuesday. This edition of the feedback loop brought to you by the strawberry jam that I had on the side of my face just a moment ago. Sometimes it's really nice to have the camera on because I can then see, wow, boy, I'm really kind of messy. Luigi also checking in. Pointed out that we have there's a podcast that he linked to for I guess I have to show it from the side because if I show it straight on, it just kind of goes away. This user-friendly, fantastic book on really the short history of user experience design, and it is really short. It's a few decades in the making, but this is a really good book to kind of show some of the pivotal points and why UX is important. Robert Fabricant, who I believe is from Frog Design, and Cliff Kang are the two partnering on that, and it's a really good book. I would suggest. There's an audiobook, there's obviously the Kindle, but Debbie Millman had the authors on her podcast, I guess, relatively recently, and Luigi found that for us. So good looking out, Luigi. Appreciate you bringing that to our attention. And the link for that is in the general channel. So be sure to go check that out. I will probably, I got to be honest with you, I'll probably just link to it in the curriculum as well, just to make sure we don't lose sight of that one. Got a lot of things. Got a lot of great things to look at. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so that we can get this underway. It looks like Couchbot did not fire, so I'm going to well, actually, if you're subscribed to the YouTube channel, you got the alert anyway. So I'm going to keep rolling along here. Let's get it underway. So first things first, obviously you don't need all of my editing suites. We need to head over to right here. And actually, I don't want to head there quite yet. I want to head Katie. So Katie is getting prepped up for her affinity mapping exercise. And I think that this is a really good opportunity to highlight a couple of things that are really important about affinity mapping. Right now, Katie, you're prepping for the workshop session, and that's good. But in that you only have like 12 items listed. This is as if you've pre-edited the affinity mapping exercise into a few points on each. What I want to encourage you to do, and this is what typically happens when you go through affinity mapping, is instead of like writing them out all in an order on a sheet, you tend to, if you're doing this with colleagues at work, you're getting out the sticky notes and you're writing and pasting to the wall in a manner that's not too far away from what we have here with Kara. This was Kara's affinity map, and there are not as many stickies as it may appear in this view. But one thing that I do encourage designers to do is to go through and kind of color code your stickies, and I'm sure there were other ones that were here for observation, but color code your stickies in such a way that it allows you to see what was the source of that information. Was it something from the stakeholder? Was it something that you got from observation? Was it something from testing? the competitive analysis, the interviews, and here she's got 5 different colors in play. And then what we tend to do is we bring these things over. So like the first wave of this is just, I'm going to get it on the board, and I'm going to get it on the board, and I'm going to be exhaustive in what I push to the board. And then we come over and we begin to group these in terms like here she's got some broad categories: cost, nutrition, user experience, convenience. So those were the broad categories. And then she edited it one more time through into topics. So it went from source to general general area to a specific topic. And then she took it over, and I won't go into what her priority canvas looks like, but then she took it to the priority canvas and started writing out, okay, here's my order of priority, what's most important to my users. So I think it's really important to start off by just getting everything on the board, and then understanding that you're going to reorganize that information a couple of times over to really distill it. I really believe that affinity mapping is all about the distillation of information. You've got a lot of different sources that are coming in, and then you need to group those so that you can see the big topics or the big themes, like what are these associated with, and then get into the specifics of what is resonating. One thing I will mention is not everything that's on the board will neatly fall into a bucket. Okay, so there's going to be a few of these stickies that just kind of hang out, and it's okay if not everything makes it into the bucket. If you have a stray sticky here and there, that's completely normal. But again, I just want to encourage you, Katie, to be exhaustive with what you're listing. Don't start by pre-editing yourself, okay? Go long. It is good though that you're going through and saying, okay, well, I'm going to pre-write some of these out. That's fine, but you shouldn't. I really doubt you'll ever neatly end up with 3 of each. There'll be some that you may have an area, like maybe out of your stakeholders you only had 3, or maybe out of your observation you only had 2. But from testing you might have, like Kara here. Kara had like 18 from testing, okay, and then it looks like 9 from analysis. So just understand that there's going to be area. It's not going to line up like 1 to 1 to 1 to 1. Some areas you're just going to have more information than others, and that's fine. Testing should be an area where you have a ton. But right now, the way you have it, based on this, it's really nice and clean, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, and that might be the way it ends up at the end. But we shouldn't be trying to pre-edit ourselves to neatly start there. Okay, so just a little tweak there, and then I really look forward to going through the exercise, and what people may or may not realize is that there is a priority canvas that has been created for you. It's linked currently in the curriculum. One thing that we didn't really have when we started the program, if I come over here, actually I'll go up here. We did not have this, and you can kind of see like James's affinity map looks just a little different than Kara's, but it's still the same sort of idea. I'm gonna take and remix this information a couple times over before I land on a specific area. But that said, the affinity mapping template was built long before we had this community beta tag, and this tag is important because, or this space is important because that's where these exercises are ending up, and like some of these things are, they're showing up on the front because I've shared them, but we really, these were created before this concept of a new, or the concept of a Figma community was around. So I'm going to be updating those to where they're a little easier to find. right here on the new Pragmatic site for Figma. And by the way, if you're looking for that, it's figma.com/new Pragmatic. So just know that everything that is a template of sorts, like you've got personas and mood boards and the kiosk prototype, all of that stuff is going to be in the public. It's going to be shared publicly, so anybody can get access to that. So if you're looking for it later, just know it's there. What else do we have? Okay, well that was Katie's, so I'm gonna push off from there. Hey, Elementor. Okay, so Rebecca had a very specific question related to, and we'll see. Okay, so this is the site, and this is the Hebrew version of it, and the reason I know it's a Hebrew version of it is I've got a little Hebrew right there, and I've got some Hebrew up here as well. You said it was showing up originally as Hebrew. I think that you've made the adjustment because when I pull the HE off of it, I go right back to the normal English admin here across the top. So that's good. Rebecca had some issues earlier, and the main issue, if I can make my way back here to the dashboard, is that in Elementor, you basically have to have two copies of the page. Every page that is going to be every page that's going to have a translation, it's not, and this is something that's hard for people to wrap their heads around, because it seems like what's likely to happen here is I hit the translation button, and then I have to somehow figure out how to add text to each of these. That's not how it works. How Elementor and how this plugin handles it, in its Polylang, is it basically has two copies of each thing, and it will point where appropriate, especially on these landing pages, it will point to the appropriate file. So if I go down to pages and go all pages, we've got your home file. If I click edit, you currently have, the language is English, and the translation page is over here for Elementor 924. If you wanted to name that Home Hebrew or whatever, you could. But the question that you had a moment ago was related to, okay, well, how do I get to that page? And there's a widget actually built in. So if Polylang. So Polylang switcher, and we're gonna have to edit this up here to make space for it, because right now we have we don't have any space to handle a 3-column section. And where did that just go? Oh, I think it went above. Yeah, we're gonna get rid of that. Oh no. Okay, so there it is. Let's go ahead and edit this to make it narrower, if you will. Guess we'll have to edit the columns here. So column width, I'm just gonna make it 50 for the moment. And of course, this column width needs to be 20. Oh, I'm not the biggest fan of this. Alright, so I'll have to, this is where we've got to come in and essentially say, is it 90? Is that how it's? That's really weird. Okay, so we've got to add this widget, and we'll add Polylang. We really need to get this polyline widget to the side. Right now, it's only wanting to load to the top and bottom because our spacing just isn't set up for it. And there you have it. I have the English widget showing up. It should show up to be Hebrew when we update it. But we'll see what happens here. Okay, interesting. Hide languages with no translation. Hide current language. Okay, that's interesting. Let's update. And we'll come over here. I am interested about your other page as well. Let's go back to all pages. Oh. Okay, well. Is this the one? Oh no, it's probably this draft. Let's take a look at this. Trying to pull the string apart. I'm not entirely sure how Rebecca's created this. This doesn't. I mean, it looks kind of like the. I mean, it looks like the content for the homepage. Maybe she's just copied the content over, and there's no form here yet. Yeah, I'm gonna need it. Like, I really want a copy of that homepage. So let's go back. All pages. Home. English for editing. Did this ever open? I don't believe it did. Let's view the site. Okay, so it's got the English page there, which obvious. It's English. It doesn't know what to show there. Yeah, it's interesting. I think we need to go through and make sure we're using this widget properly. Um, it's called the polylang switcher. So, I mean, my natural inclination, polylang switcher Elementor. I've got to go in and read more about this because without knowing how the switcher is working. Okay, so okay. So this is make a header template in Elementor, set display conditions in Elementor, assign this to one language, English for example, make a second header template in Elementor, set no to display conditions. Okay, so what they want you to do, this is they basically want you to instead of having this in the main page, they want you to have a template. And essentially how this would work is we're going to come through, we're going to go back into the admin. Well, sorry, it's over here because obviously it's in Hebrew. My bad. It's over here. They want you to go into templates, add new. They want you, we're going to create section. Actually, we'll just create header. And this would be English home. Create template. And essentially what you're going to want to do is create, and I think what you have is pretty close to this one. And correct me if you've already done this, it may already be here. Okay, so you've got CrossFit JM header. All right, so let's. So we've got CrossFit JM header now. Now, actually, I think this header is on your. This header is on your schedule. That's why it looks different. So I don't want this associated because I want to go through and add the translation. But I'm gonna what I want to do is I want to change the structure of this so that I can put the polylang at the side of it, and then I want to create a second one. So really, it's follow these instructions, create the two headers, and then pull them in so that the header, when the headers switch out, it's going to display the conditions. But you need two headers. Make a header template in Elementor, set the display conditions in the Elementor panel, assign this to one language, make a second header, and then they'll be able to switch out. But I don't think it will. I don't think it wants to necessarily. Well, actually, let's see the live demo. I like live demos. Let's see here. All right, so this is. English. Oh, okay, Portuguese. Okay. So this is just a drop down, if you will. But they must have two of these, so it switches between the pages. I would go that route because it's literally how they it's literally how they describe it in the documentation, and I'm always going to go with the documentation first. I'm not gonna sit here and guess what other ways that I might be able to do it. I'm gonna do this first, and then and then I'll move forward. But until I can prove that this approach doesn't work, I'm not going to do it a different way. So I would suggest doing the usage example here, first header, second header, assigning those to the pages, and then seeing if the polylang switcher is not showing the right language. That's how they've. And I bet you he walks through it here as well. Yeah, you know what? If I'm looking over here, he's working on it right there. So this is, and of course I've locked up. So anyway, my point is, he's walking through the very specific thing that we're trying to do, which tells me that it's not just something that's been written down here. So do that, Rebecca, and hit me up with any questions that you have. Once you have those two headers created, I think this is going to sort itself out. Okay, so let's keep moving forward. I'm going to leave that page. I don't necessarily want to. No, I don't want to change those things. All right, so Tejal. Tejal's got a number of things she's working on as well. Everybody's on a different project. So let's see here. Making things responsive, padding at both sides, background colors and mobile view, top nav. Okay, figuring out how. Okay, we'll take a peek at that. See user flows button on top of the sitemap to the right side. This is where. So a lot of times we get into these things where it's like I want to do this thing, but I haven't seen the design. Like, it's hard to identify where you're trying to go if we haven't like mocked it up. And this is a common problem we get into when we just jump straight to code. Like we've set no target. A lot of times we don't set a firm target for where we're trying to go. And then as we move through the design process, we kind of just shift around in the sand. So that's something that I want to look out for. Let's go ahead though and jump in Visual Studio Code. Let's see what we can do. There she is. It's right there on top. I don't know why I missed it. Okay, get status. Get pull. Version master. And obviously, you might have, if you're watching along, Tejal has a call with me here later today, so there might be certain things that we'll cover in more detail then. Let's go ahead and see where she's at. Because last we checked, she was moving like a lot of stuff around on her site. So Bergen's still here, but I want to see where projects. Let's see if Bergen's. Okay, so Bergen's made it over here. Okay, so idea board's in here, and yeah, this is a different design. And it loads up. Poof, that's good. Okay, my role, solution process, discovery, that's back. Competitive analysis. Okay. So okay. Let's take a look at let's go back to your journal. Making things responsive, add paddings, make things responsive, add wire background. Okay, so let's come over here. And Firefox has decided to blow up on me. When this happens, you know Firefox is sad. So it looks like you've got your drop down in here, but Firefox is struggling. Okay, I'm gonna have to restart Firefox. Sorry, Firefox. Firefox died on us. Sometimes Firefox does that. It's the developer edition. It updates nightly, or it tries to. Sometimes it wants to update, and I've got it open, so it won't update, and then it gets fussy. So, okay, here we go. And let's inspect elements. He said mobile specifically. So, let's take a peek. Oh, that's a problem. I had to shut down. Let's add this, and let's come back over here, and let's go down there. Tejo, by the way, thank you so much for always putting your notes in here in your journal. It makes it so much easier to follow along. As you can see, my daughter uses my computer quite a bit. Hi, Riley. How you doing? Let's see here. So, adding padding to the side. Why don't I see colors in the grid mobile view? I guess I got to figure out where the what grid is, what grid you were referring to. So, I'm gonna pop back over to the code so that we can kind of see what's going on here. So, idea hero grid. All right, so you got a hero grid. Let's see. So it doesn't look like it. Yeah, it doesn't look like hero grid is doing much for you there. So let's I just want to get rid of social for a second. There's the hero grid. So yeah, so why aren't you? That's interesting. Yeah, why aren't these? Do you have colors back here? I'm just curious. I need to look at this in terms of how it's constructed. So here's the hero. Or hero background. Okay, so here's hero background. So you got like this SVG that's off to the side, and background image. Is this something where we should be doing something with background position? So, or background, sorry. Background size, cover with 100%. I don't know. I'm just trying to hack around to see what's happening, because it's like it's just off to the side. It doesn't, like, it never moves. It never moves back in. So, like, does it need to be like left minus 300? Yeah, so like maybe part of this is like getting in there, and well, it goes away. Why does it go away? Um, it's almost as if it's almost as if there's a media query that's coming into play. Okay, so you're talking about the other sections. I'm sorry, I didn't know. I was kind of poking at it because the question was kind of broad. So I guess I'll look at. Okay, so maybe you're talking about problem and solution. Tadjil was nice enough to point out that she's. Okay, so let's look here. So this is 2 call dark gray. Okay, so see we've got this grid. It's 1FR, 1FR. I'm just kind of seeing what happens to it once I go. My mouse just died, of course. Oh, Firefox did it again. Sorry. I'm going to have to restart. I'm just going to take this over to Chrome because Firefox is clearly having problems today. Let's see if we can get it figured out in Chrome. Now, whoa, what is happening? I have no ability to scroll. Is that real? Chrome just crashed. What's happening today, folks? All right, so Chrome is really struggling now. Okay. All right. Okay. Come on. Okay, Chrome. Chrome's down. That's no good. Just gonna restart all the browsers. Yeah, Chrome is crapped out again. Okay. Try Firefox one more time. Interesting. Excuse me. That's interesting. chosen to. I'm just kind of looking at how you've written this. Is it to call dark gray? I'm not sure. Not sure why that's necessary on that one. Seems like it could just be on this one, but let's go aside from that for a second. Like, what happens here? And is it an issue of... No, it's not there. Okay. Okay, we've seen this before. I bet it is a missing curly bracket. Let's go look, because like suddenly like ding 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 ding, like stuff's going off in my head. And I've got some red dots here, and definitely got one missing here. That fixes one of the issues. Let's see here. I don't think it likes that, but that's not. See, I've got this red right over here. It's just telling me that, hey, there's a problem in this general region, and I think it's just that is an extra one. Yeah, that was an extra one. All right, let's save this and go back. Aha! Hey! Yeah! Yeah! You know, sometimes we just are who we are. And Tedgel, if the CSS is not doing what you're expecting it to do, you gotta say, I probably misplaced a curly bracket somewhere in here. And the way to know, I just want to back up. I want to undo the mistakes. All right. The way to know. Tedgel, in the case of the missing curly bracket, yes. But what's more important than that? If you go into your style sheet, and again, I'm trying to decode this in the browser, giving the benefit of the doubt that okay, there's probably nothing wrong with the CSS, and then it dawns on me like this isn't making any sense. It's probably in the CSS. So then we go, and I'm not even like scrolling through the CSS. Okay, I'm just coming over here to this right hand rail, and I'm looking for where the red dots are. And it typically will give you a little squiggly here saying, hey, something's off. And if you look around enough, what was off was the fact that this one right here, 2-column grid, was not closed. Okay? So then when we close it, like that squiggly goes away, which is nice. And that squiggly goes away, which is nice. I'm just curious if that was the one. That must have been the one. Now there's also a squiggly up here. And it appears that this one is just an extra squiggly. The question I have is whether new overview is intent. Of course, we have this one too. So this idea board right column, and then there was an extra squiggly. So there was a couple of things in there. I'm not sure what the oranges are. Float right. Float left. Okay, logo. Oh, well, no, that. Yeah, dot logo. Yeah, dot logo. Is that really a problem? I don't know. It seems like it's fine. You got a class by the name of logo. It's not a red though. Transition. Well, you're saying back. Can you transition the background? I don't know that you can. Shorthand property combined. Yeah. Okay. So because this is shorthand, this would need background color, and you could do background color, but you couldn't just do background because background is shorthand for a lot of things. So you have to be specific on what you're trying to transition, and that makes it go away. So that's actually a good one. Float right. Why would that be? Float left, float right. I mean, that's very common. I don't see why that would be throwing a hey alert. Anyway, let's go back to this though. So now the background color is well, at least for problem, is showing up. Why is it not showing up for the other one? So I see duration. It seemed like duration and problem were side by side before. No, solution was. Okay. So solution's here. And the question, you had a question about padding and, not spatting, but padding. And, oh, if I take that off, that will probably clean itself up. Yeah, all right. So there's that, but we have this, so here's left content, and you've got this margin left 25%, margin right 15%. What I would encourage you to do is come back. So you've got these all these individual margins going on. I would encourage you to say just like, margin 20 pixels or something. Something more standard. If you, well, let me go back. Let me better. I want to better understand what you're trying to do. Okay, so you've got problem solution. You've got the. Okay, so I understand what you're trying to do. You're trying to add more padding to the outside than the inside. Okay. But then when it gets down to one column, you've got to go through and kind of take these inconsistencies out in a media query. Or what I would really prefer that you do is you always write for mobile and then add the updates so that it does this the other way. So let's go find this real quick. To call content left. All right, so we'll find it. Okay, so here's to call content left. All right, and then I'm guessing you got to call content right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say at media all and I so often have to go find my syntax because I just don't commit it to memory. Yeah, all and min width 680. So we're going to pull that in. Find my stuff. There it is. So at 680, this will kick in. But what I really want to do is I want to say, okay, you're going to do this thing, right? Great. You're going to do it right in there. And now what I'm going to do, I'm going to do this weird thing because I am weird. I'm going to strip away all of that. I don't want it. And I'm going to do a comma. And I'm going to pull this over. And you're going to be like, Chris, what is this madness? What are you doing? Well, these things both want the same thing. They want to be aligned, and they want all this. Okay, so you don't need that there. What you really need is you need custom margins set up when it hits a certain size. All right, but at this earlier size, all you need is, and how do we really want to do this? Well, let's just, okay, so let's just say margin 10% all the way around. Okay, so now you've got margin, it's equal, and then when it comes out, you get your custom sizes. Okay, where it's wider on one side. When like Firefox is messing up again. It's wider here, it's narrower between, but then when you collapse down, even on all sides. Okay? So what the big takeaway there is, if I write it for mobile first, and then add my little specialty sizes for when I go to tablets and desktop, I can actually clean up the code to where it's a lot easier. Frankly, it's a lot easier to start with mobile and then edit up than it is to start with desktop and edit down. It's just, if you start with mobile, it's never going to break. It might look weird on desktop, but it isn't going to break. If you start with desktop, you have to do work on it for mobile, otherwise it's going to break. So that's the flip. Let's take a look at one more thing before we wrap up. You had this. Yeah, okay, so you got a button that you want to appear on top. So let's kind of take a look at how this is written and what's happening to it in mobile. Okay, so in mobile, it's like really small. And I'm trying to see. You said you had written it and it wasn't showing up. Here's flow and it's sitemap, and you had a button. And this is probably, if I had to guess, this is probably a Z index thing where you're trying to layer one element above another. Let's quit Firefox for a second. Just come over and look at your code. Idea board. Coming down here to okay, so here it is. I'm just going to note this. I'm going to unnote. Well, yeah, there we go. Unnote that out. What I probably will do is I might set that image as absolute inside of flow, and then allow button to kind of position itself appropriately. But let's oh, and yeah, I just shut down Firefox because it was being so fussy. Localhost. Actually, you know what? I'm just gonna kill the local port, fire it back up. All right, so okay, yeah, I can kind of see where that feels weird. It's just like it's the same height as the image, and it's like what's going on? Part of it's got to be the whatever you're doing here with flow. I haven't looked at flow. I don't know what it does. So let's like find flow and see what's going on. Flow. Okay, so display flex. All right, let's get rid of that. That's not working. All right, so here we have user flows, and what I'm going to suggest that we do is we say dot flow img display or position absolute, and that's going to do, yeah, okay, so that did like this crazy thing. And what happens to it when we go small? Okay, so it still goes small. Firefox is really struggling today. It's like so buggy. Let's kill that for a second. Okay, so that's wireframes. It's sliding underneath it. My question is if I set a height on flow, so if I say flow is, 200 pixels for whatever reason, yeah, I don't like that as absolute. Let's refresh that. I think there's other ways that I can do this. I don't like it like that. I do know that flex is not going to work for us. But what if I flip it around and say button is absolute? Sorry. Flow, this is going to seem a little crazy. Flow, BTN, position, absolute. And that seems weird. It's like, well, why would you do that? And I'm kind of riffing, to be honest with you. Well, I guess it's BTN flow. So, so instead, let's do, well, BTN flow. Okay, so now it's there. The question then becomes, like, when I position this, so right, I've positioned it to the right. If I want to come back and I say negative minus 20, or if I say 20, like, so that's 20 from the right. I want to be 20 from the bottom as well. So bottom 20. And unfortunately, I think I just put it all the way to the bottom. It should be at the bottom of flow, though. Where did you go, dude? Yeah, Firefox, you're hot garbage today. Oh, no, that's not it. Woo, Firefox, virtually unusable today. Sorry, we're gonna have to. Either that, or there's something in this file that's just destroying my browsers. I don't know, because I've not, like, now I can't scroll. Something's up, Tegel, and we need to unpack what's happening, because there's nothing here that should be just, oh well, user flows is right there. That's stupid. I bet I need to position it relative. I don't do a lot of positioning like that. Mainly just because I just haven't. But come on. There's user flows. It's like positioned way up here at the top. Yeah, this is typically where I like to go back and look at some prior solutions that I've created. One that's coming to mind is a code pen that I did for Bowie, where I kind of had it overlay on top. It was yeah, here it is. This is a hover example, and I want to say that it's laid right over the top. How did I code that up? So it's this class of info, and that class of info is position absolute. There's a contain though that is, so position relative on the contain tells me that I should put a position relative on flow, and so position relative on flow, position absolute on BTN flow. So there's that, and I'm not sure what that. Now we got Firefox gremlins up here, and then if we said yep. So we position it 20 from the bottom, 20 from the right. It's gonna stay with that image, but it's all about using flow as a relative position, and then using the button as an absolute inside of it. This is something that I'll push up. That button needs some styling on it, to be honest with you, Tejul, to get the blue on it and whatnot. But I'll leave that to you, because that should be fairly easy to do. It's just it's like margin or padding. Actually, you may already have a style created, so I'm not gonna add that, because I don't know where or how far you are with it. But Flex was throwing it off. It's positioning is something that we should do more with, rather than just kind of relying on just Flexbox or just CSS Grid. But it is like an older school way of layering these elements together. So I can understand why we don't lean on it. But I'm going to push this up, because that takes care of that. And then I'm also going to push up the grid issue that we fixed. We'll touch on the JavaScript issue on our call in an hour or so, because this is like stretched on now, and I do need to hop on another call here in just a moment. So I'm going to push this information up. Get status, get add, get commit, dates from feedback loop, get push origin master. And trust me, by the time that you're done with this, Tejul, you will have curly brackets either mastered, or you will be so self-aware that it's an issue that you'll never make the mistake again. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the feedback loop. Hope this has been beneficial for you. Some of you I will see in a couple of hours. Otherwise, for the rest of you, I will see you tomorrow. Take care.